Hey DJ Tech Tools, Ian Golden here. Today I've got a review for you of a very interesting piece of software. It is the Algoriddim Djay Pro. So Algoriddim Djay, as you may or may not know, was a very popular and one of the first DJ apps for the iPad. It did really well. It continues to do really well and be very popular for people who just kind of want to casually DJ with the iPad, but using a nice interface. So the Algoriddim guys have released Algoriddim Pro for the desktop or laptop. So I've got it running over here on this iMac. It requires the newest version of the Mac operating system. It will not run on Windows. It's designed strictly for the Mac. They say that they've used certain optimization benefits, and it's actually a benefit that it's designed only for the Mac. But we've got it loaded up, and this is really aimed at people who like the iPad app, maybe just want to casually DJ and don't want to spend all the money on a Serato setup or a Tractor setup, but who might require a little bit more integration, like some controllers or even a full CDJ setup. Now, the thing that's really interesting to me and what we've got running right here is some music that's not coming from the hard drive of this Macintosh. It's actually coming from Spotify. So let's go ahead and give that a listen. So here you go. That is not a song that I would normally have in my DJ playlist, but I'm in Spotify right now in the oldies playlist, and I've got stuff that is off the wall amazing, and if I had to DJ oldies and I was in a pinch, I could do it. So the real question that I wondered was, how does this software stack up in some of the pro features? Like, could you actually go out and DJ with Algoriddim Djay? Instead of it being a home app, could you use it, let's say, for a mobile gig or maybe even a club gig? Well, in this video, you're gonna find out. Stay tuned. So first, let's look at the interface. Here we are, Algoriddim Djay Pro, 4 decks. They assume that in order to be a pro, you need to have 4 decks. You're probably never going to use this software for 4-deck mixing, but you could if you wanted to. You've got some interesting effects. This is one thing that I really liked about this software. The interface is a little bit confusing. For example, I want to get back to my waveform right now, and for the life of me, I can't figure out how to do it. We see effects, we see looping options, we see cue point options, but if I just want to see the waveform, how do I get back to it? I have no idea. So the interface is clean. It's got that Macintosh look. It's nice. You've got 4 decks. The waveforms are colored. A little bit strange that you've got they've chosen to get away from the whole mixer / deck paradigm that Tractor has, mixer in the center, decks on the sides. Instead, the mixer section and the pitch fader section is associated with each specific deck. So in that sense, I'm not a big fan of that part of the interface. One thing I do like, however, are some of these effects. Let's go pull up maybe a house track. Demonstrate how easy it is to get new tracks in Spotify, if that's your thing. There is some demo music on this computer from these guys, but it's not the greatest. But here we go. We got a little Latin vibe here. Okay, so the effects are actually really good. Here's Space Hop. Probably one of the only reasons why I would want to use the desktop version of this software is because of this nice, cool Effects XY thing. And it's got all these different effects. There's some free stuff up here, the Essentials list, stuff like Bit Crusher. And they've got lots of character. This sounds pretty good. It'd be fun to mess around with. Not so fun to mess around with just the mouse, but sounds pretty good. One cool thing that they do have, and I gotta say these effects are actually pretty decent. Let's get a new song, because this thing is kind of driving me nuts. Let's actually use the CDJ. So sidestepping just a little bit, let's load something up with the CDJ and see if we can't get a track that we actually like. Oh, bogus, there you go. That track is not available in my country. By the way, I had to upgrade in order to do this whole demo. I had to get Spotify Premium in order to use it with this. So just heads up, free Spotify does not work, $9.99 a month. It's not the end of the world for endless music. Certainly spend more than that on MP3s from Beatport. So I got a little beat here. Let's listen to some of these other effects. Now, these effects at the bottom are the ones that I want to talk about. These are the Sugar Bytes effects. Sugar Bytes makes some interesting effects plugins. Now, you have to pay for these, so these are not free. But if you do pay for them, you get all these wild moments here. Probably a little over the top. I'm a little bummed there isn't sort of a wet, dry moment here. It's just sort of always full on. But the Sugar Bytes effects are interesting and probably worth the extra money. And they've got all these dimensions of expression. They've done a good job of trying to make these all super playable for you, which I appreciate. And I think you will also appreciate as the fun DJs that you are who like to just play with things and have a good time with them. I was kind of curious, speaking of effects, you can map MIDI controllers. This is one of the features of the Pro software, is that you can map MIDI controllers like our beloved MIDI Fighter Pro. And actually mapping things to this was fairly easy. I just connected it and it said, hey, you've connected a new controller. Do you want to configure it? I said yes. So all you do is open this window, press a button, and then tell it what you want to assign. So you've got a big long list of things that you can assign to. You can see here I've started building a little bit of effects. So I've got these top 3 buttons mapped right now. This list is a bit long, and as you can tell, it takes a while to get through it, especially if you're mapping things to the bottom. But you know, you'd probably just do this once. So let's we double assign there, but let's see what this sounds like. We got a track going. So this, you guys who are familiar with DJ Tech Tools and have been around for a little while, already is starting to sound like the instant gratification mapping, where we designed this mapping for Traktor for people to just kind of punch in effects in a really fun way. As you can tell, instant gratification, lots of fun. You might not actually do it on the dance floor a ton, but for playing at home, so much fun. Now, it's pretty easy to build mappings like that with this software. I was surprised. You know, let's say we wanted to make some little beat rolls for this second row. There's some beat roll stuff in here. Here we go, like a bounce loop. Let's just assign that real quick and hear what that sounds like. So that did not work. Let's see what happened. Oh, there it is. I assigned. This is interesting. You just sort of press the button that you want to assign it to, and then it takes you to it. So that was kind of cool. So I assigned it to the wrong button. Let's do that here real quick. So pretty easy. Hit done. Go ahead and save that thing. You can't share mappings. We couldn't create a mapping that you could then load, but it's relatively easy for you to create your own mappings for this software if you have a little MIDI controller. Most, I shouldn't say most, it's because it's not true. A lot of 2-deck controllers from Reloop, Pioneer, like the WeGo, are natively supported. You just plug them in, it automatically works with this software. There are a lot of controllers, for example, the entire Native Instruments line, that will not work, and you will have to manually map every single function yourself if you wanted to use that controller with this software. A little bit of a bummer, but the basic, inexpensive stuff like the Pioneer WeGo or some of the reloop things do work well and are plug and play. Plug it in, it works, we tested it, it's great. But the thing that kind of piqued my interest, and I think the thing that's going to be piquing your interest too, was this idea of, can I actually just DJ from Spotify, either with a controller or in a club with 2 CDJs? So we tested this out. It's pretty easy to set up the CDJs with the software. We just plugged it in via USB, so we've got 2 USBs running to each CDJ. It asked us if we wanted to use those as our audio outs, and it automatically mapped the CDJs, both the 900 or the 2000 Nexus, to the software, and now we've got full control over songs, and we're controlling songs from Spotify. So I can browse through my Spotify playlists here. We've got some tracks from Solomon. We can go ahead and load them up. One thing that you'll see is that the playlist on your CDJ reflects whatever playlist currently is shown in the software, right? Pretty snappy, pretty responsive. I'm in vinyl mode right now. I probably, a little bit of sticker slip there. Actually, probably a lot of sticker slip. Probably couldn't do a turntable drop on time, but the song is there and the looping was on time. Let's give that a try. Let's set an in loop, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. So we've got a nice 4 count clean loop from Spotify. We could load up a new track. Let's see, what do we want to loop? Here we go, let's try this one. I don't know what this sounds like, so forgive me if it's not good. Let's get that. Okay, so let's try the syncing. We've got this guy running over here with a loop. He's at 129 beats per minute. This guy is at 127. Let's sync them up, try to play it. So the tempo's on time, but the downbeat definitely was not. Pretty easy to adjust. Not terrible. So that's the one thing that I did notice with the Spotify integration, is that if we load up, let's do it with the same track, just so you guys can really hear the difference. Or let's pick a different track with a nice, clean, that'll work. Let's do that guy. So load that up to the beginning. Okay, so with songs on your hard drive, if you have sync enabled, I found that the sync, especially on the downbeat, was pretty snappy. It doesn't actually sync your play, so if you hit play and it's offbeat, your track's going to be offbeat, but when you hit sync again, it locked them back into time pretty well. Playing from Spotify, it seems like they're doing a really good job of beat detection and a pretty good job also of sort of beat alignment detection. So the sync wasn't as good, but I would say it's good enough. Most times I had a track running, I could start the other track and then I just had to adjust it a little bit and it was on. But at least the tempos were synced. I found I didn't really need to mess with the tempo faders much because the tempo was usually on. But let's say that was off. If I hit sync, it's not quite right. Get out of that loop. So pretty good. I just dropped an 8 count loop. It snapped to the loop endpoints, which was really nice. I got a clean loop. And I can DJ and great thing is I don't own these songs. You know, they are not in my library. Probably would never use this to play dance music. You know, you need to know your tracks. You probably have the tracks you love in your library. But where I think this does really shine is if you show up to a gig, let's say a wedding, for example, gasp, and you want to play the top 100 tracks currently on Spotify. This was crazy, you know. I was looking at the top 100 tracks sorted by either their ranking. So these are the top tracks on Spotify. I'm not going to play them because we'll probably get pulled from YouTube for rights. But, you know, here are the top tracks people are listening to. And if you're playing a wedding and, you know, probably don't have time to be listening to top 40 radio all the time, you don't know what songs people really want to hear. Well, there you go. This is what people are listening to the most right now. iTunes is fairly irrelevant in their top downloaded numbers, but Spotify is most likely pretty reflective of the tastes in your area. Another nice feature is that you can sort by BPM or even key, and that's reflected right here. So I had fun just going through and loading random songs that were in a similar tempo range and trying to mix them up on the decks. Probably not in the top 100, but you can explore by genre, which is what I was doing before. So these are Spotify genres, not yours, of course. They do have this funny top DJ section. Here you go. If you want, you could play Axwell's party playlist. You know, if you find yourself really needing to please the EDM contingent, you could be Axwell and play his playlist without actually having any of those songs in your library. You know, there it is. And I'm sorted by BPM, so there's another track right below it. Don't know what this track is, but it's pretty similar. Let's get it to the beginning and try to sync it up. Those are the same song, which is why it is phasing. That is a trick, actually. You can intentionally phase the same song. Going before YouTube recognizes it. So the sync worked pretty well there. So, you know, I don't necessarily need to know these tracks, but there I know I've got probably a lot of big EDM hits that people would love. And if you're in a situation where you need to DJ songs that you don't have, Spotify can't be beat. Don't forget that you have a search here, and I'm assuming that almost any song on the planet, except for maybe Taylor Swift's, are searchable and playable on Spotify. If you do pull up a song that you haven't played before, which is highly likely, like this one, it's taking a minute. You'll notice it's analyzing the waveform. It's done. That's pretty impressive. That took all of, 5 seconds, at which point I've got a BPM and I can use sync, and I found that the sync was pretty reliable on these new tracks. So Spotify integration, 2 thumbs up. I'm impressed. Might not lug out all this gear to play a wedding. Might use some of the smaller controllers that also work with this software. But then you could also use the regular algorithm, the one for iPad. iPad with Spotify and a small controller. That seems like the small house party, minor wedding killer. But if you need to look and play on a full-size setup, and you want to play off the internet, this seems like, A, the only option you have, but B, a pretty good option, assuming that you've got reliable, stable internet connection. So Algoriddim Pro, you've got 4 decks, you've got syncing, you've got effects, you've got minor MIDI controller, you've got Spotify integration. One thing I will point out just before we go here, you can mix videos with this platform as well. They support videos. Here we've got one here. Drag and drop, play your music videos, and mix them. It does not work with external mixer though. We would need to switch into internal mixer for this to work. Back on into the internal. So probably better if you're using a controller. In this context, I'm mixing externally, which means the mixer is doing the mixing, not the software. in which case it's not going to do the video blends that you would probably want, which is the whole point of playing music videos, most likely. So overall, you know, a nice piece of software, well designed. Probably would not recommend it for professional DJs who, you know, are playing regular club gigs and are super happy with Serato or Tractor already. I don't see enough here that would make you want to jump, unless that Spotify integration is a total, you know, just deal killer, amazing feature that you have to have. For the new DJs, however, that are just getting started, if, you know, you want to DJ, you don't already have software, you don't want to drop a lot of money, maybe your friend already has some CDJs, or you can get access to a super cheap controller like the WeGo or one of these Reloop controllers that are a couple $100. This software is actually a pretty good value in that regards. I think it gives you a little bit more latitude, so you've got room to grow. You can start off just basic mixing tracks. You've got some fun effects that you can get into. If you want to step up to MIDI controllers, you can also step into MIDI controllers. And then let's say your DJ career really takes off and you want to go in the club, well, you can take your same software and your same playlists that you're used to, plug them into the CDJs in the club, and keep DJing from there. So there is a little bit of a you know, DJ lifespan story there that I think is interesting. But of course, you do need to use the laptop. It does need to be Mac, and it does need to be on 10.9, the latest version of the Macintosh computer. So I hope you found this informative and interesting. If you like the software, there's a link underneath us for more information. And if you like this video, you can watch many more just like it on djtechtools.com.